It on now? Okay.
Travis is normal. Boy, he loves talking about his own. I'm telling you what. Okay, yeah. All right, thank you.
Good morning. Good morning. What a glorious day, and I certainly will take credit for the weather as well. This is such a wonderful day, and as I look out over this field, many things come to mind. One of them, as a physician, I will say that to my patients now, take your Lipitor and come to Taylor Field 3 times a week for 3 laps. So exercise is good. It's preventative. It's quality of life. So this is a fantastic day. You have your program in front of you, and there's wonderful historical information in there about the families who helped to make this possible. Taylor Harper family. And so please look at that and the photos there. My remarks are, from my point of view, I hope I've not left anyone out or misrepresented any dates or anything like that. If I have, just please let me know. But this is something that comes from the heart, and I'm honored to be here today. So it's an honor for me to welcome you today to the official opening of Taylor Field. I want to thank Heather Hemphill, Director of Parks and Recreation for the City of Southport, for asking me to speak. And I want to thank the Parks and Recreation Committee for their work in this. And our gratitude to Heather for her efforts in making Taylor Field a reality. A great deal of work in grant writing, PARTF, P-A-R-T-F. I didn't know what that acronym meant. It was new to me the first time I heard it. It's Parks and Recreation Trust Fund. It's grant funding, and it's matching funds from the North Carolina General Assembly. So that helped tremendously to make this a reality. I want to thank Alderman Karen Mosteller and Lo Davis for their efforts and their passion for Taylor Field, and in particular for the wonderful dog park for our 4-legged and 2-legged citizens. Taylor Field, what does it mean to our city? Initially, I'm told by my 90-year-old father-in-law, Elliot Hickman, baseball. High school and city teams played here. Summer Catch, the movie, was filmed here. Again, baseball. Parking for events. Other movies used Taylor Field as a base camp. Taylor Field was a debris field for Hurricane Isaias, and none of us forgot that, and the mounds and mounds of debris that were here. But most importantly, Taylor Field, to me, means philanthropy and love from the Taylor Harper family to the city and citizens of Southport. This park is a monument in part to the Taylor Harper family, to their love for Southport, and to their continued giving to our city through the generations, including excellence in journalism through the State Poor Pilot by this family since 1935. We salute C. Ed Taylor, father of Margaret Taylor, who married James Harper, their two sons, Jimmy and Ed Harper. And with us today, the wife of Jimmy Harper, Ginger Harper, whose passion for Southport through her love for the city and her spirit of volunteerism and philanthropy is exemplary. And the daughter of Ed Taylor Harper, Morgan Harper, who is a great journalist and a wonderful gift to our city, as she has continued the journalism tradition of the Harper family. Grandfather James Harper, father Ed Taylor, as he was called by the locals, and Morgan's uncle Jimmy Harper. And we're all grateful to her for this and for her presence in our community, especially through the newspaper, the State Poor Pilot. I return to Taylor Field. Ginger Harper, thank you. Morgan Harper, thank you for this more than generous and epic gift to our city and citizens. And C. Ed Taylor, Morgan's great-grandfather. This is his campaign poster when he ran for Congress. And I have this with me today, and I know it's tough. I have this with me today, and I carry it with me as a reminder of him. He was the husband of Jessie Stevens Taylor, as you see in the brochure. And he was of the Weather Tower fame in Southport. And Ed Taylor, the father of Margaret Taylor Harper, who was the mother of Ed and Jimmy and grandmother of Morgan, and a beloved matriarch of Southport, who I'm so grateful that Tish and I were able to know and enjoy her company. So thank you, C. Ed Taylor. I did not know him, but I know of him. He was born in Brunswick County in 1875, licensed to practice law in 1904, married in June of 1909. He was elected to the NC House of Representatives in 1904 and re-elected through 1910. He was good friends with Dr. J. Arthur Dozier. And C. Ed Taylor was the first chairman of the Board of Trustees for Brunswick County Hospital, now Dozier Hospital. Public service, volunteerism, philanthropy, love for the city of Southport began with C. Ed Taylor and flowed like the Cape Fear River through his daughter Margaret, grandsons Ed and Jimmy, great-granddaughter Morgan, and Jimmy's wife, Ginger Harper. The Taylor Harper gravesite on the other side of the cemetery by Moore Street. How fitting a monument to our past next to a monument to the present from the Taylor Harper family. Mr. Jimmy Harper once told me that there may not always be front page news, but there's always a front page. Well, Mr. Harper, Taylor Field, this wonderful gift from your Taylor Harper family is front page news. And on behalf of the citizens and city of Southport, we will be forever grateful for your love and philanthropic endeavors to our city. Thank you. And now for our invocation.
So now the breeze picks up. Can you all hear me? Can you all hear me? We know God can hear us, but it'd be good if you could too. Let us pray. Most loving God, we praise and thank you for the many, many blessings you endlessly bestow on our beloved Southport. And today we gather here especially to thank you for blessing us with the gift of this park, which comes to the city through the generosity of Mrs. Jessie Stevens Taylor, her beloved grandson Jimmy Harper, and his wife Ginger Harper. Lord, in your wisdom, you gave Miss Jessie the desire and strength to serve this city in many ways, and she will always be honored in gratitude as the heroine of Hurricane Hazel, when she bravely used her weather warning flags to alert everyone on land and sea about the coming danger. Her legacy lives on from this day forward. The people of Southport enjoy the wonders of your creation in this park, which is so lovingly dedicated and donated to this city by Jimmy and Ginger. Guide us all, we pray, to use this park well and respectfully in gratitude for their kind hearts. Amen.
Amen.
This is the tricky part.
Good morning. I'm Liz Fuller, the president of the Southport Historical Society. I'll get this up here. Okay, I'm Liz Fuller, the president of Southport Historical Society. And it's my privilege today to speak to you about C. Edward Taylor and Jessie Stevens Taylor, for whom this park is named. The Taylors lived their lives in the service of Southport and the surrounding community. Now, every October, as a volunteer for the Southport Historical Society, I get to portray Jessie Taylor in the old burying ground. I tell her story of her important role as Southport's weather observer and storm warning display woman. For over 55 years, she worked with the National Weather Service, reading Southport's temperature, wind speed, and rainfall, and sending her records to Washington, D.C. And when hurricanes came, she hoisted large flags. I'm going to show you. She hoisted large flags that looked somewhat like this, although they were much bigger and heavier. She hoisted those. Oh, do you want me to show it? Hers were much bigger and much heavier, and it was much windier. But she hoisted them up there, and she did it whenever there were storms, and she on the weather tower that stood on the Garrison lawn. And when hurricanes, she warned her friends, her neighbors, and ships at sea of the impending dangers. She's most widely known for her efforts in 1954, when Hurricane Hazel, a Category 4 storm, landed near Southport. Her warnings kept everyone in the community safe. And a few months later, she received a medal for her long service from the United States government. So I get to tell that story every October, but I don't often get to tell stories about her husband, Ed Taylor. Now, at the age of 22, Ed founded a weekly newspaper here in Southport, the Southport Standard. He served as the editor for several years, during which time he also undertook the study of law. Then when he was just 27, he was elected mayor of Southport. 2 years later, he received his law license from UNC at Chapel Hill. And at the age of 30, he began the first of 3 terms in the North Carolina legislature. So you may be wondering, how did Ed accomplish so much at such a young age? What was his secret? Well, I'll tell you, he was single. Although the first half of his life was dedicated to the hard work of getting an education and establishing a career, by the time he reached the age of 34, he was ready to settle down and start a family. And that's when he married the love of his life, 30-year-old Jessie Stevens. I'd like to think that part of what brought them together was their shared devotion to Southport and its future. Because rather than slowing down their contributions to the community after they got married, they expanded them. In 1909, the same year they got married, Jessie started a women's civic club. The club focused their efforts on improving daily life in Southport. They got businesses to install trash barrels in front of their businesses so that they would throw the trash in there rather than just tossing it into the streets. They put benches out front of the Garrison lawn. They painted and installed street signs. They erected the town's first street light. They encouraged residents to plant flowers and clean up their yards and maintain the cemetery, and they did their best to eliminate breeding grounds for mosquitoes. They sewed curtains for the schoolhouse. They opened Southport's first library and even paid the librarian's salary. And they increased education on child care to young mothers. And they even hosted an annual baby parade so mothers could show off their healthy toddlers to the entire community. They did all of that in the first 10 years of the club, all before Jessie or any woman in Southport had the right to vote. In 1920, when the 19th Amendment passed, Jessie and the members of the club went door to door, encouraging women to register to vote so that they would have a say in the future of their community. Over the years, Jessie served 6 terms as president of the club that she founded, which still exists today as the Southport Women's Club. So while Jessie was running that civic club, Ed wasn't just sitting at home. He was doing his own work to improve Southport. In 1911, he helped organize the Bank of Brunswick, he helped bring the WB&S Railroad to Southport, and he helped establish the Southport Light and Power Company. 9 years later, he instituted the rebuilding of Southport Supply Road, which was in great need of repair even then. And in 1929, he helped organize the celebration for the completion of the $1 million twin bridges across the Cape Fear River, which made it so much easier to travel by land from Southport to Wilmington. And in the 1930s, he was instrumental in obtaining right-of-way deeds for construction of the Intracoastal Waterway from Southport to Lockwood Folly. When the World Wars came along, Ed served as chairman of the Brunswick County Council of Defense, and in 1943, he became the collector of war records for Brunswick. So I really could go on and on about the Taylors' contributions to their community. I haven't even touched on their dedication to their church or their devotion to their 4 children and their numerous grandchildren, but I think you get the idea. Both Jessie and Ed Taylor devoted their lives to the betterment of their community. Where others saw problems, they saw opportunities. Where others were content to complain, they were quick to roll up their sleeves and get things done. They never stopped believing in the future of Southport, and by their actions, they made Southport a better place for all of us to live. Now, I don't think that either Jessie or Ed Taylor expected accolades for the work that they did. They were just living their lives as they saw fit, in quiet service to the community. But I suspect if there was going to be a landmark named in their honor, they would be pleased to know that it was a beautiful park like this one that would serve to bring all generations of the Southport community together now and in the years to come. And now I'd like to introduce Chairman of the Recreation Advisory Board, Scott Jones.
I'd like to welcome everybody here today, and I'm honored to be here as we gather the celebration for the grand opening of Taylor Field Park. This beautiful park is dedicated to the health and enjoyment of the people of Southport, and it's my great pleasure to be here as chairman of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board as we officially open this park. Taylor Field has a special place for me, as I have fond memories of this facility or this property growing up. Southport High used it for their school functions, their ball games, and I played youth baseball, football, and countless pickup games here. Over the years, the city has used it for everything from the 4th of July parking to storm debris collection. The movie Summer Catch turned it into a minor league baseball stadium for their field scenes, and the Jaycees used it for turkey shoots and donkey softball and other fundraisers. Anybody here remember the donkey ball games? They were quite interesting. But today we're here to celebrate a new chapter in the life of this property. I want to thank the Harper family for their generosity through the years of making this park a reality. Without their support, this project would not have been possible. Also want to thank Heather, my fellow members of the Parks and Rec Advisory Board, the Board of Aldermen, and city staff for their hard work and dedication in bringing this park to life. In my life here, Jimmy and Margaret Harper always made this property available for recreation. And then their sons, Jimmy and Ed Taylor, continued that. And now Ed Taylor's daughter, Morgan, and Jimmy's wife, Ginger, are continuing and have made this a possibility. So now I'd like to introduce Morgan Harper, who's the editor of the Stateport Pilot, like I said, Ed Taylor's daughter. Please come on up.
Thank you. Thank you. I didn't write anything down, so I'll probably be really quick. My dad had a lot of memories here when he was little and in high school that I can just tell you. My grandfather, Jim Harper, used to coach him in baseball as a child. In high school, my dad played at Southport High. He played every sport available. He was very athletic, but one story I do know is one night during a football game, they lost electricity, and to keep the game going, I don't know if anybody here might have been at that game where they had to line up all the cars and turn on all the headlights to finish the game. I'm sure a lot of people that grew up in Southport have a lot of memories of Taylor Field. I was a generation late for that. No events were going on here when I was a little girl growing up in the 70s and 80s, but my memories of Taylor Field are in the last, I'd say 10, 12 years, when my dad would bring his dog Woody to come down here and play. A lot of people, I think Joe Medlin started it. Some of you might know Mr. Medlin. He had the idea to start coming down here. It didn't look at all like this. I mean, you guys can look around. This looks amazing. It's a beautiful park now, but it was just Taylor Field, literally a field, and to start bringing dogs down here, it was kind of an unofficial dog park. Mr. Medlin put a couple of benches around, put a trash can, even put a makeshift dog waste bag stand next to the trash can, and it was a great gathering place for a couple of years. Probably more than a couple of years, and you'd see Chief Mayor Dove, Stuart Kaleri come down in her golf cart, Mr. Medlin. So many people come down with their dogs, and I'd come down with my dog. Excuse me, my dog was too old at that time to come down and play, but gosh, they'd all gather here, stay for, I don't know, half an hour, hour and a half, and just have a great time. It was a great place for socialization and just gather, and my dad would probably come twice a day some days, but every morning around 7 o'clock, he'd drive Woody down, run him to death, put him back in the car, and go back and start work. But those are my memories of here, and I just think about him being here in his late 60s and early 70s, and the memories he must have had just being here as an older man, and imagining what it was like, remembering what it was like 60 years before that. There are a lot of people around who do have memories of it in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. I think what's happened here since my grandmother left the land to Jimmy, and then it was deeded to the city, and this beautiful park has been created with the dog park, which I think is wonderful. And I only wish Woody's his dog, my dad's dog, is 14 and a half now, so I don't know how great he'd be in a dog park. But I look forward to the memories that new people, because you don't have to be from Southport to enjoy Taylor Field. I hope so many more memories are created here. And just in honor of my great-grandparents and my grandparents and my dad and my Uncle Jimmy, I hope everybody enjoys it. And thank you for having me speak today, and enjoy Taylor Field in honor of the Harpers. Thank you.
You're good. Thank you.
Right now, I'll take a second to say that we have a couple of dog-related businesses here today. Michael Chambers with Cape Fear Canine Dog Obedience Training, and Amber Schaefer from Canine Massage Therapist. I'm sure they'll be around after to if you have any interest in speaking with them. We have from the city, Kate Marshall, who's the Animal Protective and Services, and you can, at the table back there afterwards, she'll be glad to give you any information you need for signing your pets up. Now I would like to introduce Mrs. Ginger Harper. Ginger's been a very active member of the community for years, and her and Morgan's family have made possible the park. And without their support, this wouldn't have happened. We'd like to thank them for all that they've done for the community and what their commitment to Southport will continue to be. Please come up, Ginger.
This is an absolute honor, and I am thrilled to be here today. Look around you. Just look at this park, what it has become over the last, Judy and I decided that this space needed to be utilized as what was envisioned by Jesse Stevens Taylor many, many decades ago. I also want to keep in mind, or for you to keep in mind, that Jesse's father, Enoch Bunker Stevens, did the park over there by the Southport Elementary School. That park, I think, was like part of the foundation for the elementary school. And if I'm not mistaken, they gave the land for that school to be built as well. Being married to Jimmy and him being the reporter here in Southport and taking pictures, it's like a historical picture program of what goes on in this town, as Morgan is doing today and carrying on what her Uncle Jimmy did and what her father Ed did. And I'm proud of my niece. She's done an excellent job. Jimmy would help Jesse to raise those flags that they were talking about earlier. I think Liz had a flag up here. Jimmy would help her as she grew older in age and would help her hoist those flags up to the top of the apparatus there on the garrison. And it is our hopes that the garrison flagpole will be erected in the near future. Is that correct, Mayor? And then that will be an interesting thing to do. Um, Jessie Stevens Taylor, who is Jimmy's grandmother, made plans many, many decades ago for the people of Southport to have some open space where they could enjoy good health and wellness and exercise and do things like that. My first exposure with this park was in '76 when they had a rodeo here. Does anybody remember the rodeo? Raise your hand if you remember the rodeo. That was my first experience in '76, and that was awesome to see that because I'd never been to a rodeo before. But Jimmy and I have been privileged to be able to restart those plans that Jessie had many, many years ago for this city. Today, I know that Jessie and Jimmy are smiling on us, looking down to see that this is now a reality, not just a dream. So we are here, we are doing it, and it's going to be all-inclusive is what I'm understanding from some of the folks. It will be for young children, people young like me, young like you, and then older adults, and then for our canine friends too. So the dog parks are for big dogs and little dogs. So we're going to keep the two of them separated. I know that we will live up to Jessie's expectations and we will enjoy this park together and make it one of the many things that make Southport so unique to so many people. This is home, guys. This is home. Now, you should be out and enjoying the park and getting on that equipment and losing some pounds and getting in shape. Have a good day.
Thank you guys for coming out today. This has been a project several years worth, and I am so thankful for the Harpers and their kind and generous donation that will keep giving back to generations to come. Anytime you develop a park, there are many, many hands involved, not just the faces that you may see in public. So I would really like to offer my thanks and acknowledge to you guys from starting with Tom Stanley and the Public Works Department. They're all out here in uniform. Our grounds crew guys, they've been in here cutting, mowing, picking up, mulching. Huge thanks to the fire department that came out early this morning and set this up. To Jackie for dealing with all of my work orders that I kept putting in many times a day. And I also want to acknowledge the hard work of the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board. Roberta Dozier is here, raise your hand. Stephanie Jackson, raise your hand. Lo Davis is our liaison. Karen Mosteller is our liaison. And there's one more I'm missing that's here today. Who is that? Emma Thomas. Sat through many meetings, working and planning, what amenities to come out here. Also, for the future use, we are looking at putting an all-inclusive playground. That will be in our next phase, and eventually having a hookup between the trail here and the back of Low White Park towards that end. So those are future plans. But again, I want to just thank everybody that had a hand in it. It's not just one person. It's not an easy task. Many hands, got it to where it is as you sit here today. So thank you.
Thank you, Heather, and thank you all for being here. Board of Aldermen, thank you for being here. City staff, city employees, thank you. to our fire department. Thank you so much. Chief Drew, thank you, your department, for getting all this set up, like Heather said. And thank you to the community for being here today. What a glorious day. What a momentous day. A day that they remember the rodeo in '76. Let's say you remember the dedication in 2023. Definitely, it's a historic day. And thank you to the speakers. Thank you, Liz, for the history. Ginger Morgan, Robert. This is just going to be it's a quality of life issue. The beauty of this park, people will come here and enjoy a glorious day in Southport, whether you live here or not, whether you played ball here or not, and those memories are wonderful, so thank you for that. Kids played ball here. Isn't that wonderful? They have those memories. And so we leave with a joyful heart, with the blessings of Southport. And again, thank you all for being here, city staff. Thank you again. And I want you to look how smart they were over there standing in the shade. So we commend them on that as well. So thank you all. What we'll do now, we'll go over to the ribbon and have the ribbon cutting. So thank you.
Mr. Mayor, also tell them that the ices are free.
Oh, and as Morgan says, the ices are free on the house. I didn't know that. There we go.
I'm sure you're right there. We just need to.
Y'all gonna be facing this way or that way? What's best for the? We're gonna get the park in the back.
And the sign.
This side. Yeah, you guys get on that. Get on this side.
You will be this side.
I guess you can look at it. There you go.
It's the other way.
You're beside me. Sorry. Where's the?
So you don't want that red one.